Okay. Okay, so now we continue with our how do you say history. Our history.
My house phone just rang with the exact same person.
That's very good. What is it saying?
I don't know. Is there a telemarketer or something? I have no idea.
That's funny. That's funny. My mother's phone is usually not. I don't even think anybody talked on my mother's home phone in months. I don't even know why she has it and pays for it. Yeah. Anyways, okay. So now we continue with tonight. We're gonna have first the history of going through the Yarden, crossing the Yarden, and then we're gonna get into on the bottom of the Amud. We're gonna get into parenthetically. We're going to get into the Meraglim, and that's going to last us today, tomorrow, and it goes back and forth between the Meraglim and crossing the Yarden. All right. So Zaktik, right? We're on Mamash on the top word. Yeah, Vakiva. Yeah, we finished Mamash to the. Yeah. Top to top the kivon she nitva top of lamed dalar amral. The kivon she nitbelu ragla kehanim b'mayim chazro mayim lecharein. Since right when the kehanim put their feet into the water went backwards. Right? We'll see what that means in a minute. Again, because we said yesterday that normally the Aron traveled behind the Yidden. And by the Yarden, it traveled in front of the Yidden. Right? So who were the ones that started the Yarden, the river, to stop? So that was the Ragli Kahanim that were carrying the Aron. So again, the waters turned backwards. Shenemar, Ukavai Noise Aron Ada Yarden, when the Noise Aron came into the Yarden. Right, these are all psukim in Yeshua, yeah, in the beginning of Yeshua. And the water that was coming from the top of the river, because the water in the river flows, which we'll see in a minute, the difference between that and the Yamsuf. Right, so it made one wall. How high was the wall? It was 12 mil by 12 mil. Keneged Machane Yisrael, which was the size of the Machane Yisrael. The Machane Yisrael was 12 mil by 12 mil. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, that's Rabbi Yehuda held. Amar lo Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon l'dvarecha adam kal oy mayim kalim. What's lighter? Literally means lighter. Is a person lighter or is water lighter? Meaning which is going to travel faster? Avayomer mayim kalim. You're going to say that water travels faster than a person. If that's the case, then the water, after it piled up and went up 12 mil up into the sky, it's gonna come crashing down on the Yidden. What must be is that the water piled up and kept going up, keeping waves on top of waves, more than 300 mil. Until all the kings of the Mizrach and the Ma'ariv saw it, that they heard they were on the west side of the Yarden. Hashem dried up the Yarden until they passed over. And their hearts literally means their hearts melted. And they had no more spirit to fight Klal Yisrael. And Rochav Azayna sent the shlichim to Yeshua, meaning Yeshua sent out messengers to go see what's going on. So they went to Rochav Azayna, and Rochav hid them. Yeshua ended up marrying Rochav. Kishamanu es asher hoivish Hashem es mei yamsuf. And she said, and we heard about the Yamsuf. And we heard, and the hearts are melted, and nobody's going to start up with the Yidden anymore. right? So basically, it's scared off all the goyim, this thing. So we'll get back to that last thing in a minute. So let's just clarify it. So the machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Shimon is how high did the water pile up? According to Rabbi Yehuda, it piled up 12 mil, which is pretty high, right? Rabbi Eliezer, but that's the length of the Machane Yisrael, meaning it needed to pile up that high in order for all of Klal Yisrael to get through the water. And then once Klal Yisrael got through to the other side, then it would fall down. Right? That's Rabbi Yehuda's pshat. Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon says it can't be because water moves faster than people. So if it's going to go up 12 mil up into the sky, the people are still going to be in the water, and then it's going to come crashing down. So therefore, it must have been up to 300 mil high.
Can I ask a question?
High. Yeah.
How come we make a very big deal about Kriyas Yamsuf and we don't commemorate this at all? We don't make this as nearly as big of a nace as
Kriyas Yamsuf. It's 40 years too late.
It's a good question. Well, and not only that.
I mean, I understand we didn't have the Egyptians behind us at this time, but still, it was it's pretty big nace.
Yeah, and not only that, but it's going to say that we're going to learn that they had to take stones. Yeshua told Klal Yisrael, you got to take stones out of there to make a commemoration of this nace. And we don't even have those stones anymore, that it shouldn't be forgotten.
And if you ask most Yidden, they probably don't even, if you ask them, they don't even know about this.
Correct, that is true.
Look, you have the Gemara.
I didn't want to say that. But
no, I'm going to say, maybe it's not true, but I'm saying I think most people don't even know about this.
100%.
You have Pinchas Ben Yoah that the water split for him.
Right, that's true. So
no one makes a big deal about that.
Okay, so that's also a good kasha.
We also don't make it right, and he held up the sun. Rabban held up the sun for Yeshua.
Sure, yeah.
I'm saying, but this is exactly the same thing as Kriyas Yamsuf.
The water split.
I don't know if you can say that. I don't know if you can say it's exactly the same.
I'm not saying, but it's the same. The water stopped for them and let them pass.
In a way, it's bigger. Meaning, so let's clarify this. It didn't split. Rachamim said this a few days ago, but I'll just make sure to Olam. It didn't split because it didn't have to. See, the Yam Suf wasn't a river, so you needed the water to pile up on either side of the Yidden as they went through. This is a river. So basically all it needed to do was to make a dam on one side and the other water just continues flowing out, right? The water continued flowing. Then it stopped. And it stopped where the Yidden were and it piled up. It went straight up. Instead of the water flowing downstream, it flowed up into the sky.
As high as Mount
By Kriyas Yamsuf, Amayim Lem Chayma. They also went up high, the water.
No, that's true. But I'm saying, here the
didn't mean it went up. It doesn't have to say it went up high. It just went up. But so you don't have to say it went up high.
Okay,
it's just a climb is a wall. That's
okay, yeah. Stop the wall.
No, but that's all. The point is that it's just a practical thing why the water piled up in this case on one side as opposed to the other side. Right? It didn't have to pile up on the other side. The water continued flowing downstream. They just had to stop the water coming downstream. So that's why it piled up on one side. Right? But anyways, so now
I would assume there's another nace when the water was let go by the Eivishter. Shnei Masamil makes a big dent in the country, letting that water go. Yeah.
Well, not if it and then according to Rabbi Elazar,
the other man, it's 300 miles high.
303.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm saying even the lesser one is yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I don't know how, but it didn't just.
It was a controlled release, Gershon.
It didn't just fall
right.
back.
So that's a big nace.
Why is that such a nice controlled release? They do it all the time in dams. That's what they do. They have controlled releases.
I guess
the same
something
way
else.
That there was a nace that they had controlled stopping. They could all
right.
So the controlled release. Whatever.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Come up with some kind of a mechanism that makes it work? So good, fine. The water was higher than Mount Everest. Do the engineering on that. It's impossible. So fine, take it as it is. That's all.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same either. There was Haggadah says there was anywhere between 50 to 250 additional makos by Kriyas Yamsuf. It wasn't the same thing. Kriyas Yamsuf had a lot more going on at that time.
What do you mean?
I'm just saying you can't compare Kriyas Yamsuf with the Yarden. By the Haggadah, we said there's a three-way machlokas where how many makos were the Mitzrayim had by Kriyas Yamsuf.
Make the drushes over there. They didn't make the drushes over here. I don't know.
I'm just saying you can't compare the two of them.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That's true. Yeah. So the thing is, there's a connection here. Why? Obviously, there's a connection here. But I'm saying they went. The last thing that we just learned. Even Rochav Azayna said to the Shulchan Yeshua that, well, we all heard about this of the Yamsuf, right? So therefore, what does that have to do with the Yarden? The Yarden happened after Rochav Azayna, right? Meaning the way it was, Yeshua sent the spies to Rochav to find out what do you call it? The Knanim their attitude is. So she came back and said, "Oh, they're all scared from the Yamsuf," right? So that basically what the Gemara is saying is that they're scared even still from the Yamsuf, right? So therefore what? So what does that have to do with the Yarden? Elamai, I don't know if it's Nevi'us, I don't know exactly what it is she's saying. We're bringing a raya that from the Yamsuf, that freaked out enough people. So then you don't have to, then for sure, the Yarden, which was visible to way more people, at least the way the Gemara makes it sound, then for sure it's going to put the what do you call it on them, right? It's going to put the scare into them.
Well, by the Kriyas Yamsuf, all the world waters in the world split. So I can understand the guy sitting there in Yericho with his wine bottle, the water splits. But by the Yarden, that didn't happen. The Yarden was only by the Yarden.
Right.
So the news traveled fast by Kriyas Yamsuf. But
I guess so. No,
40 years later, when they're getting to the Yarden, it was a different water. So the difference.
Right. Well, don't you say once you have a nace once, the second time is not really such a nace?
Well, in this case, I hear what you're saying, Peretz, but in this case, it actually helps because then the Goyim will say, the Yidden, there they go. They're splitting the waters again, right? And they're doing this, and these crazy things are happening. But, yeah.
Well, your question is why we don't celebrate.
Yeah, that was David's question, yeah. So why we don't celebrate as a nace? I guess so. I guess. Listen, the cynic in me says it didn't really help. The big nace for Kriyas Yamsuf, a day later, Klai was already complaining. Right? So, whatever. Anyways. Once we get into the...
All gracious, how we... Every other
and don't worry, we're getting into the Meraglim tonight. So that's really something that's very hard to understand. Okay, weiter. Oidam b'Yarden. So here, this is the part that's it. This would strengthens David's kasha. Oidam b'Yarden, Amalem Yeshua. When they were in the Yarden, Yeshua said to them, "Du amatem oivrim es Yarden." You have to know why are you crossing over the Yarden? Amanash terishu es yosh v'haras mipnechem. The only way that you're doing it is on condition that you wipe out. Terishu really means from the word Yerusha. You're going to have to wipe out the Goyim. And you're going to have to send them out. Meaning you can't let them live there. There was an Isser for them to let the Goyim live in Eretz Yisrael. They had to knock them all out. Right? If you do this, then fine. And if not, then the water is going to come and wipe you guys out. You have to agree to this. So what What does it mean? Aseichem? Oisi ve'eschem. It means it's going to wipe me out and it's going to wipe you out. Right? Yeah, there's a, what do you call it? Who says? Yeah, so Taisus, I'm sorry, Taisus Aydin Biyardin. Where is it? Yeah, Taisus Aydin Biyardin says so that basically if you got everybody in Klai, so they were accepting it on behalf of everybody in Klai, so nobody could hide. Right? And you don't get involved in Nister and all these type of things. Like I don't know exactly what Tyson means by that one, but it basically what he was saying, what Yeshua was telling to them is that every individual is going to be responsible, right? Then meaning he made himself as part of that individual, even though he was accepting it. Clearly, he was accepting it, but if Klai Yisrael didn't accept it, then he would also end up drowning. Fine. When they were in the Yarden, Yeshua said to them, "Harimu lachem ish even achas al shichmai lemispar shiftei b'nei Yisrael." Everybody should lift up a stone on the shoulder for the counting of Klal Yisrael. Right? And as what is this for? Rashi says to lift it up, and these stones were to make a memorial. No, memorial is not the right word, right? Is it memorial? I guess. To Simin Labanim Sha'avru Avas Asayardim. All right, so you see, David, that they were concerned. They were concerned of it not of the Yarden, of them not remembering the Yarden, because Yeshua told them you have to take the stones out of there. Meaning one stone for each shevet. So you take out the rocks, these stones, and your kids will ask you, what are these for? Right? And Simin Labanim, Shovar Abbas is a Yarden. It's a Simin Labanim that the Abbas passed over the Yarden. Right? So basically, that's the reason why they took out the stones. So Oidem b'Yardin, Amrlen Yeshua, and then another thing. When they were still in the Yarden, Yeshua said to them, no, so that's, I'm saying, where are these stones now? What do they do with these stones? So some of them they used as the Mizbeach, right? I think some say that. Well, the Gemara is going to discuss it in a minute, but I don't know what happened to them. So I don't know. So pick up these things from the Tayadim, to make a matzeva of the feet of the Kehanim, and prepare 12 stones. Right? Take them with you, and you keep them with you in the hotel. That's a little, wherever you stay that night. So now there's two sets of stones. Right? One was to make a matzeva. And they were supposed to take these stones, and this is the ones they took them to what do you call it? To Harevel. Right? Yochel, Bechol, Malon, Malon. So you think, okay, they got to carry these stones wherever they went. You only have to keep it with you wherever you're sleeping that night, meaning the night after they went through the Yarden. Yeah. Fine. So that's it. So they basically were supposed to take out two sets of stones, and one was to bring it to Har Grizim and Har Eval, and one was to make a matzeva. They were both really to make matzeva, but fine. That literally means they were standing on the stones, meaning they tried to figure out how big they were. And they evaluated, I have no idea how they did this, that each one was the size of Arba'im Sa, which is the size of a mikvah. Right? So I don't know if that's size or that's weight. Is that a volume measurement or a weight measurement? Whatever it is, it was big.
It could be both, but when we say Abayim saw, you're talking about an amma by whatever, 3 ammas, So that's that's a pretty big stone, and if it's only that weight in water, it's still giant.
Right.
It's still a big number. You can't lift that kind of rock. It's a fake.
I mean, but then to schlep it with you also
on your shoulder.
Yes. Ugamiri, and we have
but Arabs are for.
Yeah, it's true, but here they didn't have Arabs to carry the stones, right? Ugamiri, the Tuuno de Medalim Inish Lakaspe Tilsa Tatune Havi. So here's this: they have a Messiah that a person could carry. I don't know how to do this cheshbon here. A person could carry on his shoulder a third of what if others are helping him. Meaning, a person independently, when he's carrying, can carry 1/3 of what he can carry if he has somebody helping him carry. Meaning, so somebody helping him carry will triple the amount of weight that he could carry. Right? Okay, so that's what they was. That's where their cheshbon came from. Meaning, their cheshbon is that it's not 40 saw. They could have carried 120 saw. It could have tripled it. Right? Theoretically, I don't know if it's theoretically or that's what they carried, but it could have been 120 saw. Right? Fine. Mikan atamachshav le'eshkol. From here, you could calculate the size of the grapes that the what do you call it? The Meraglim carried back from Eretz Yisrael. They came back from Eretz Yisrael with massive sized fruits, right? And they helped each other. So that's why, right? Because we're going to see now that there was a bunch of Meraglim carrying the grapes. Yeah. So Shenemar, because it says Vayisiu b'mayit b'shnayim. They carried it on a mite. A mite is like a stick, right? Don't they have it? Isn't that like Kedem has it as their? Don't they have a thing with the?
Yeah.
The 2 people carrying grapes. No, it's not Kedem. Where's that Kedem grape juice? Can you bring that grape juice there,
yes, that's their original logo.
It's their logo.
They have 2 poles or one?
Concord, right? The Concord, yeah.
Is it on there or on the one? Let's see.
No, but no one's holding it. I've seen the one where someone's holding it.
Right. I know there used to be one where they held it. No, this one doesn't have it.
On the grape juice, not anymore. Yeah.
Got you, Rachamim. Got you. The grape juice doesn't have it
anymore.
I think Concord.
No, I have Concord color right here. It doesn't have it.
I think could it be that they took it off because it was the Meraglim?
Yeah, cancel culture. They probably.
I have no idea. I don't know. Is a possibility?
Anything is possible. I heard that they used to call them lady fingers, and they changed them to baby fingers. So people got upset.
They don't call them baby fingers anymore. Look at the packages from this year. They just call them fingers. They don't even call them baby fingers anymore.
No, some of them said baby fingers.
Those were left.
My box said pronoun.
Save them. You could put them on eBay with the real Coke.
For some reason, I don't think you're going to get too many buyers, but yeah. But anyway, so I don't know if that's what they did, but he's saying
look up logo with people carrying grapes. It says 2 spies carrying grapes as the logo.
Who says?
On Google, the name of the logo is 2 spies carrying grapes.
The Kedem logo?
No, in general, the logo with 2 people carrying grapes.
But does it have spies. 2 poles? My question is it 2 poles or 1 pole? Because that would maybe.
But if it was poles, it was probably 6.
It shows 1.
Only shows 1, so then you can't say it's the Meraglim. Because the Meraglim has 4. We're going to say that there were 4 now. 4 poles carrying these grapes. Okay, let's see. Shenemar, they carried it with a stick with 2. When it says with a stick, I mean, if you have a long stick that's holding up a cluster of grapes, so of course you need 2 people. One's holding it on one end, one's holding it on the other end, right? This is here, I have a pencil sitting here, so we might as well, right? If you're carrying grapes in the middle, my fingers being the grapes, so there's going to be 1 fellow here, and one fellow here carrying it. So what do you need to say that it was carried with a stick with two? What does two teach you? The grapes were so big that they needed two poles to carry it. So then Rabbi Yitzchak comes and he adds on. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, turtani b'turtani de turtani. Basically, it was a load with a load under another load, right? Meaning, haketzad shmaina nasu eshkol. 8 of the Miraglim carried the grapes. Echad nasa rima, and one carried a pomegranate. Echad nasa te'ena, one carried a fig. And Yeshua v'Kalev le'nosu klum. And Yeshua and Kalev didn't carry anything. Right? So basically, so what he's saying, the way Rashi explains it, because how do you get from carrying the grapes with 2 poles to carrying it with 4 poles? So basically, the Rabbi Yitzchak is saying once we're darshaning the pasuk and saying that it doesn't mean 1 pole, it means 2 poles. So he said, so now if you do the math, what were the other Meraglim doing? So he says it must be that the grapes were so big that it required 4 poles for a total of 8 people carrying it. Right? 4 poles, 2 people on each pole makes it 8. Right? So Yeshua and Kalev didn't carry any fruits. One of the Meraglim carried the pomegranate. The other one carried the figs, and the other 8 carried the cluster of grapes. Right? Okay, so that's what he's saying. Now, based on that, that's how must be the grapes were 120 saw. Right? We said that the maximum that a person can carry when he has help from somebody else is 120 saw. So it must be that the grapes were 960 saw. Right, which is an insane amount. I mean, even Costco grapes are not that big, right? so yeah. So that's what he's saying. Mamela, the stones, that's what we learn from. Fine. Now, why did Yeshua and Kalev not carry anything? Either because they were chashuv. So since they were chashuv, they're not going to do the menial work. They were not part of this eitzah.
They all chashuv? Weren't they all the top 12?
Yeah, but they were the top 2. They were the top 2. So Mela, they were not part of this whole thing. Right? Meaning they knew Kalev and Yeshua, as we're going to see on Amud Beis, Chap, that these Meraglim were up to no good. Right? Meaning the Meraglim wanted to bring such strange, large grapes in order to scare Klal Yisrael that they better not go anywhere near this country because the people are giants over there and they're going to wipe them out. So therefore they don't, So that's why Yeshua Yeshua and Kalev didn't partake in that. So Pligi bar Rabbi Ami Rabbi Yitzchak Nafka. The machlokes now of going back now we're shifting back to crossing the Yarden. So we said that there was a machlokes how high the water went, either Yud Beis mil or over 300 mil. So Pligi bar Rabbi Ami Rabbi Yitzchak Nafka. They're having a machlokes. Chadam l'divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Once it's according to Rabbi Yehuda that it went 12 mil on Talmud Beis now. Kechaniyasan avru. So the way they went, the way they traveled is the way they went through. Chaniya means the way they camped is the way they passed through it. Right? Meaning, because we said it's 12 mil by 12 mil, that was the Machane Yisrael. So they went through the same way they traveled on dry land. That's how they crossed through the water. Right? With the width and the length. So the Rabbi Eliezer Reb Shimon, but according to Rabbi Eliezer Reb Shimon, I don't know if it means they could have or they did go one single file, right? Which would obviously take a very long time. According to both Shitas, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Eliezer Reb Shimon, they both held that they crossed the way they camped. Marsav Adam Kal. Rabbi Yehuda holds that a man actually walks faster than the water, so therefore they would get through the Yarden before it would come crashing down, or according to Gershon, not crashing down, but slowly. Umar Savar Mayim Kalim. The other one says no, water goes faster, right? And it went up to 300 mil. Right? I don't understand. Not to go back to this, but if the whole thing was a nace, so why are we getting involved? We're trying to justify this machlokes of how high the water went based on nature of what's faster, water or people. Why don't we just say it was a nace? I mean, the rivers don't just stop flowing. So the same way it doesn't stop flowing, so it's going to go slower than the humans, and it's not going to come crashing down until they get through to the other side of the water. Wouldn't that be included in the nace? I'm saying, why here all of a sudden we're trying to having a machlokes of how it worked with nature? Okay,
it didn't really stop flowing. I think that's the point.
Well, it's right. Flowing. It flowed up. Okay, it flowed up. I'm saying.
I mean, if it stopped flowing, there would have been two walls, not like Rachman.
Oh,
the other side would have been a wall too.
Why couldn't it just stop? I don't understand. Why couldn't they just dammed it up?
Damming it up is not stopping it. It's
I understand. So it'll stop the water from moving.
Right. So then your dam has to keep going higher.
No, what I'm saying, so let's do it artificially with a nace.
Right. So if the water didn't stop moving, the movement is still there. So
but make it stop moving. Let Hashem make it stop moving.
Then there would have been two walls.
It means it went the other direction.
But let it not. Let it. Normally, according to nature, a river flows. Okay, Hashem make it not flow. How come that wasn't an option here?
Right. Why couldn't it have just stood still?
Right. Why wasn't that
like Kriyas Yamsuf?
What?
Like a way through.
Yeah. So the pshat sounds like because it wasn't Kriyas Yamsuf, because it's a river. And nature says it, that a river flows. Like the Yamsuf, you could have done that. You just push it each side away. In the ocean, you push each side away. You have dry land. You go through, no shine. Nothing's flowing. The reason why this is an issue here is because it's flowing. So you can't just stop flowing. Meaning they're trying to
because of what you said earlier.
What? Yeah. But they're trying to justify this with nature. I'm just saying, where do you draw the line? Where we're going to say, okay, it was a nace, and then
no, because of what Parrot said earlier, that it can't be the same nace. This nace already happened by Kriyas Yamsuf. The Argon split also, whatever that means. So this has to be a new nace. The new nace is that it's still flowing, and there's still a way through, and that means that the water builds and builds and builds until everyone sees. This is a new way, a new kind of nace.
So that's what you're saying. So good, but once it's a nace, so go take the nace all the way.
Yeah. The point was that everyone should see, like Elazar should have said.
Yeah.
I don't. The same way, I don't have a problem with Engzer Shovel Mechza. I don't have a problem with nace. You know, I mean, the nace was nice. It was nice. So it was a bigger nace. So it was a bigger nace. Just the way I can't figure out small nisim, I can't figure out big nisim. You know, so I'll stick with the small projects first and try to figure them out. But
okay, so all right, whatever it is. I just don't understand why there's some things they try to justify, some not. Okay. Anyways, whatever it is. Shlach l'cha anashim. Now we're back to the miraglim. So this is a very difficult to understand. This next few lines, I think, should not difficult to understand, but just understand what went on. Shlach l'cha anoshim. You should send yourself anoshim to go spy out Eretz Yisrael. So that's Hashem talking to Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Saying send out the spies. Amar Rish Lakish, shlach l'cha midaitcha. Hashem didn't mean the way it sounds like from the pasuk, that Hashem is commanding Moshe Rabbeinu to send out the meraglim, right? Can Moshe Rabbeinu take a bad chelik for himself? Right? Meaning, the way Rashi understands it, if Hashem commanded him, can something bad happen from that? Meaning, the meraglim destroyed the history of Klal Yisrael, as we'll see. I don't know if today or tomorrow's stuff, right? That's where the Churban came from. All the tzaras of Klal Yisrael came from the Meraglim. So could it be that Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu to send Meraglim, and from that story would become out such a negative to Klal Yisrael? So it can't be. Moshe said, and it was good in my eyes. This is in Devarim. This is not by the mice of Shlach. This is in Devarim, when Moshe Rabbeinu was repeating over the history or whatever, going through it, and he said it was good in my eyes, meaning that the Meraglim went into Eretz Yisrael. It was good in Moshe Rabbeinu's eyes. It was not good in Hashem's eyes, right? So basically, Hashem basically didn't get involved. That's what comes out. He was saying, listen, the Yidden are complaining, they don't know where they're going. They need to. So he said basically, Moshe, if you decide to send spies, to send spies. Right? So the Tosfos Sham, it's actually
Didn't we have a similar thing with Klal Yisrael appointing a melech? Hashem told them if they wanted to, they could appoint a melech, not necessarily that it was the right thing to do. I don't know if it wasn't as bad for Klal Yisrael, but I think there was a similar concept.
Yeah, what I mean that
Hashem wasn't mitzvah them to appoint a melech if they wanted
They're supposed to make a melech when they go into Eretz Yisrael.
Right, but that didn't. Okay, I hear what you're saying, but Hashem put some things up to Moshe, right? Yeah, I said anyway, and it was okay when it ended up being a disaster, right? And again, it was only because, well, let's see the next two. Let's see the next two. But Yachbaru lanu es haaretz, right? And they're going to go search out the land for us. Amar Rav Chiya bar Abba, meraglim lo nischavnu ela v'ishta shel Eretz Yisrael. Their whole kavana was to literally means embarrass Eretz Yisrael, right? Meaning the ones that even asked that there should be. This was a scam that they were trying to pull to get Klal Yisrael not to go into Eretz Yisrael. Right? Those that asked Moshe Rabbeinu, their whole kavanah was the busha of Eretz Yisrael. Right? And it says, and they're going to go search out the land or spy the land. It says, the moon is going to be embarrassed, and the sun is going to be embarrassed. I don't know what the exact different lashonos are, right? But meaning that's what they were looking to do. That's what Vayachru means, right? So the whole thing was a scam that Moshe, I guess, didn't realize what these guys were up to, right? And he ended up agreeing, right? That means the same rule that it's the few that ruin it for the many. Right, that's what comes out. Right,
the deep state. It's the deep state.
Yeah. And the Rabbeinu Shalom also let this. I mean, he let it. He told Moshe, it's up to you, right? So I don't know. It's a very, very difficult to fathom this whole thing. But anyways, fine. Then we go weiter. Ve'ela Shmoisam. These are the names there. Lamate Reuven, Shmuel ben Zachur, Bechulu. Some of Yitzchak Davers and Mesaris B'Yadeinu Me'avosenu Meraglim Al Shem Maseim Nikru. The Meraglim were called by their actions. But we only know that there's a Messiah that they all had the negative connotations of their names were in what they were doing. Their actions were implied in their names, right? But we only know one. We only have a Messiah for one. Right?
Is this Lashon Hara?
Well, the whole story is Lashon Hara, no?
Correct.
That means they have the Chumash is Lashon Hara. But to Elamai, so that's, you have to say that that's part of the history. So there was a Tayelis for it. I'm not sure exactly what the Tayelis is. But you see that, bottom line is you see that names matter. For those that think that when they name the children, et cetera, there isn't a connotation from what you give the kids names, so then it's not true. I mean, at least based on this Gemara. Right? So what did they have? Sosur.
Maybe that's why Chassidim just stick with the Rebbe's names. That's all. They had Tzaddikim for, that's all. So just name them for the prior Rebbe, the Rebbe 3 layers back. That's it.
Maybe. But you see that Yaakov Avinu didn't name anybody Avram.
Well, I know that. That's one of the first questions from 28 years ago. So.
Yeah. Okay, so he didn't. So when exactly did it happen that you start naming after? I don't know. Also, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Right? Okay.
That was
Very good. Okay, so Sasser by Michal. So Sasser, why was his name Sasser? Sasser Meiser Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because he was Saiser. He made a stira of the Meisim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Michal Sha'asa Atzmai Mach. He made himself into Mach, meaning a softy, right? Meaning he made Hashem into a softy. So see here, it's not only the guy's name, it's his father's name too, right? It's Sasser Bei Michal. So then, I mean, you see this, you see this with the Mekubalim. They look at people's names and they tell them things. I mean, what should I tell you? They do. I know a guy had it last week. He went to a Mekubal, and Mekubal looked at his name. Unless somebody snuck under the table to the Mekubal looked at his name and told him the main issue that he has, and he was spot on.
The first time I went to Rav Shimon Galai, he told me things, me and about every single one of my family members, my children, that I never told them. Mamish, nobody knew.
Yeah, so you see that there's something to the name and the father's name. Okay, whatever that means. Okay, but anyways, we could also come up with things. Meaning, even though we may not have a Messiah, we come up with things. Nachmi ben Vafsi, Nachbi shehechbi dvaru shel Kadosh Baruch Hu. Also, he hid the words of Kadosh Baruch Hu. Pasi shapisa al midaisu shel Kadosh Baruch Hu. He stepped on the midas of the Rabban Shalom, meaning not the midas, meaning what the Rabban Shalom stands for, if that's the right word. Fine. Then we continue. Vayalu ba'Negev. They went up to the Negev. Vayovei ad Chevron, and they traveled from the south and they went to Chevron. So it says, what is Vayovei lashon yachid? Vayovayu mi ba'ilei. It should be a plural, and they came. That Kalev separated from the eights of the Meraglim. And then he went and he davened the Kivrei Avos. Here's another makar that you're supposed to go daven by when there's a tzara. You're supposed to go daven by a cemetery, by Kivrei Avos. We discussed it yesterday, and here you see again. Avoisai, my fathers, bikshu alai rachamim she'enotzel me'atas meraglim. Go ask for me rachamim, right? That I should be saved from the eights of the meraglim. So again, you see from here that you go and you actually ask them. He says, go ask, right? Bikshu, go ask from the Shechina or whatever, Kisei HaKavod, Rachamim, that I should be saved from the Atzis Meraglim.
He went to Kever.
He went to the Kever Avos in Chevron.
So is he asking the Kever to help him, or is he asking like yesterday's Gemara?
Right, so that's what I'm saying. So the way with Taichas, it sounds like he's saying, ask for Rachmanus for me from the Avos to save me. Right? That's how you have to say it.
The Bikshu Alai is you're asking that they should be Mevakish on my behalf. It's on my Alai means on my behalf.
Right.
I mean, maybe it's more than that, since he knows it's not only him in trouble, it's Klal Yisrael. So maybe it's Bikshu Alai, it's Dafka Alai, but it's also on the situation, but whatever.
It could be. But then there's a lot of kashas to ask. But Taisus asks one. He says that Mason don't know. We mentioned it yesterday. Taisus, the second to bottom Taisus, says from here it's Masha that Mason know what's going on in this world, and the Gemara says that the Gemara in Brachas says that they don't know what's going on. Here it sounds like they do know. So Taisus answers basically that with tefillah, you're sort of letting them know, please daven for me. They may not, I don't know if Taisus means that they know what's going on or they don't know, but you can request from them to go daven for you, and that will help. That will help anyways. Fine. Weiter. Yeshua, so that's it. So now, then we continue weiter. Yeshua, Kvar Bikesh Moshel of Rachamim. So why did meaning Yeshua? How come he didn't go daven? How come only Kalev? Kalev and Yeshua were together. How come only Kalev, right? We said it's a Lashon Yachid because Kalev went up to Hebron to daven in Marasa Machpelah. Why didn't Yeshua go? Yeshua, Kfar Bikesh Moshe Rachman. Yeshua, Moshe already asked Rachman. Shenemar Vayikra Moshe Yeshua ben Nun Yehoshua. He added the name Yud. He added the letter Yud, right? Which is Ka Yoshiach Me'atzas Meraglim. That Hashem should save him from Me'atzas Meraglim. So basically, Moshe Rabbeinu already took care of Yeshua. And the Avadim of Kalev, he had a different ruach with him, right? So the meaning you see that Hebron had a connection to Kalev. 1 second. So then the only kasha is how come Moshe Rabbeinu didn't daven for Kalev? Why do you only daven for Yeshua? Right? So
Yeshua was his Talmud.
Yeshua was his Talmud. So he's taking care of his Talmud. That's what you have to say.
Nepotism.
Right? Yeah, no, that's what it sounds like. He took care of his Talmud. I mean, if he knew that Kalev was going to help him out, then l'chayra, he should have done it for Kalev too. Okay, I don't know. Achiman, right? These are the, B'Shem Achiman, Sheshai, V'Salmai, right? And they were what's the rest of the pasuk say? And they were, where is it? Hold on. No, it doesn't have it here. Okay, they were the giants. They were the kids of the giants, right? Three names. Achiman. What does Achiman stand for? Again, we have the names here. Miyuman Sheba Achiv. He was the Miyuman, the appointed one. He was the strongest. Right, and Rashi says that the Yamin comes from the word Yamin. The right is always stronger than the left. Sheshai, Shemeisim es Aretz ke Shichasais. He made the land like there's holes in it because he was so strong and so heavy. I don't know, strong but heavy that he made holes every time he walked. Talmai Shemeisim es Aretz Tlamim. He made Tlamim. What do you call it? Like when you plow.
Furrows.
Furrows. Thank you. Furrows that through the land. Right. I mean, I'm not sure exactly why his were furrows and his made holes. Maybe it's just the way they walked. I don't know. Davar acher. Achiman bana Anas. Achinan built Anas. Sheshai bana Alash. And Talmai bana Talbush. Yelida Anak. And what does it mean? They were the kids from the Anak, from the giants. Shemanikin Chamim Makayim, because they made an Anak can also mean a necklace, right? They can make a necklace around the sun. I mean, they were so big that the sun looked like it was a neck. They blotted out the sun, isn't it? They blotted out the sun or something like that, right? Fine. So that's where the giants came from. So then another kasha is that Lamaisa, they had these giants going around Eretz Yisrael. So the Meraglim, were they lying or were they not lying? Okay, we'll have to see that tomorrow.
We know where in American literature, Paul Bunyan was a giant, and this probably comes from here.
Could be. Could be. Yeah. Well, that's the Hebron Sheva Shanim Nivnasa, and Hebron was built 7 years before Sheva Shanim Nivnasa Lefnei Tzayan Mitzrayim. That's the rest of the pasuk. My Nivnasa. What does it mean? What does it mean? Nivnasa. Elam and Nivnasa Mamash. It means it was actually built 7 years before. What was it again? Tzayan. That was in Mitzrayim. Efshar Adam Baina Bias Libnai Katan Kaidam Lunai Gadol. Does a person build a house for his younger son before his older son? Why? What does this mean? Dechsivim Necham Kush Mitzrayim, and Uput Ukanaan. So you see that Mitzrayim was before Canaan, so he wouldn't have built Hebron in Canaan before Hebron for Canaan before he would have built Mitzrayim. Okay, I mean, maybe he liked the younger son better.
His older son was ready to take care of himself.
Right, or he did a rich shidduch or something. Right, I don't know. Okay, but that's what it's saying. It doesn't make sense. It was mevuna. Meaning it was more. It was built. Yushavas beperis, Rashi says. It was. What do you call it? It was 7 times more. It would give off 7 times more. It would be 7 times more fertile than than the Tzayin of Mitzrayim. And there's no more rocky terrain in Eretz Yisrael than there was in Hebron. Right? Mishum the Kivri Shichvi, because a lot of people are buried there, so there's a lot of rocks. And there's no better land than Eretz Mitzrayim, like the garden of Hashem, like Eretz Mitzrayim. And nothing was as good in Eretz Yisrael in Eretz Mitzrayim as Tzayon. So basically, Mitzrayim had the best land, Tzayon had the best land in Mitzrayim, and Hebron was 7 times better than Tzayon. When Tzayon were the officers. Right, but Hebron was 7 times better than Tzayon. Okay, so Gemara asks, Hebron Trashim Havi, did Hebron really have a lot of rocks? After the end of 40 years, and Avshalom said to the Melech, I'm going to go now, and what I swore to the Melech to do in Hebron. Right, meaning that's what we learned in Nazir. He became a Nazir. Right, he went to bring the kvasim from Hebron. That's where he wanted to bring his karbanos from Hebron. The rams come from Mayav, and the kvasim come from Hebron. Mina, right? So the kasha is. So is it good? So that land in Hebron made the, what do you call it, fat. Was it good for planting? So the Gemara says, Mina, right? That from that actual story, we can prove that it was rocky. Id the Klisha Ara, since the land is very weak there, of the Raya, it's very good for grazing. The Shamin Kinyana and Mamela, the cattle, not cattle, the animals Kinyana that go there become very fat from it. Right? They don't. I guess what it means is that the land is very fertile, but because of all the rocks and everything, therefore it grows this grass in between the rocks, and mamela the animals eat from it, and therefore they get very fat. So he's saying basically that's the pshat, that Hebron was so much better, and why it was good to raise sheep. All right, so Olam should have themselves a fine night. Tomorrow's a longer daf. But yeah. All right, I'm gonna run. Okay. Everybody should have a fine night.
Yaakov, the other fellow in that, I got that picture finally. Who was the other person in that picture?
I don't remember. I have to look at it again.
I thought it was maybe Ron Drucksmann.
Yeah. No, I was either Drucksmann or no. I thought it was.
Zevi Cohen.
Hey, Danny K.
Nah, I never learned to chavrus with Danny K. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Live is done.
Have a good night.
Good time.
Bye-bye.